Hunter x Hunter is probably my favorite anime of all time because it has goated characters, an awesome plot, and then might just be the best power system in all of anime. Don't shoot the messenger, it's the truth. But today, I want to focus on one man in this show, Kurapika. Because listen, I love a good revenge story, and Kurapika has one of the best, aiming to get revenge for his whole clan. But before we get into that, I have to give you the backstory. So Kurapika was born into the Kurta clan, who were a very famous clan because some of their members had the scarlet eyes. And these scarlet eyes didn't give a person like physical buffs, but their eyes would turn scarlet whenever they became emotionally agitated. Unfortunately, because of the perceived beauty of the scarlet color, the eyes became highly sought after by collectors all around, meaning the scarlet eyes would often sell for millions. And this is a fact Kurapika in his younger years was blissfully unaware of, and he really just spent his time training and studying with the goal of going out into the world and finding a doctor to heal his sick friend. And eventually he was able to pass all of the tests required to venture into the outside world. So he set out on a mission to find a doctor for his boy. What a wholesome and respectable mission. But unfortunately for my boy Kurapika, while he was out on his mission, the Phantom Troop massacred the entire clan, harvested all the scarlet eyes, and just dipped. Like damn, you couldn't even spare the members who didn't have the scarlet eyes. And so when Kurapika found out the news, his new goal was to capture the Phantom Troop and recover the eyes of his clan. So the best way to do that was by becoming a hunter, not for the sake of adventure like he had read about with his friend, but to get a hunter license as the first step in his mission. And during the hunter exam, he became friends with Gon, Leorio, and Killua, and they all helped each other throughout the exam. But Kurapika never lost focus and knew that once the exam was over, he would have to go his own way. So once the exams finished, Kurapika went to look for work, but couldn't get any hunter jobs because he hadn't mastered the basics techniques of Nen. He was then trained by this dude who taught him the basics of Nen. And basically, Kurapika's Nen class is a conjurer naturally, which allows its users to create material objects from their aura. But when Kurapika activates his scarlet eyes, he becomes a specialist, which grants him access to a Hatsu known as Emperor Time, allowing him to use 100% of all Nen types. And because of this, he has created the ultimate Nen weapon, specifically designed to kill the Phantom Troop, consisting of 5 chains, each with a different purpose. The first is the dowsing chain, which can be used to detect the location of individuals and determine when someone is lying. The second chain is chain jail, which is designed to capture enemies and close off their access to Nen. But in the case of chain jail, there's a condition on this technique to make it stronger, and that is that Kurapika can only use it on the Phantom Troop, which just shows how deep this man's hatred runs for the troop, because if he breaks this condition, he will die. The third is Holy Chain, which he uses for healing. The fourth is Judgment Chain, which allows Kurapika to issue a command on a target stabbed by the chain, but if they refuse the command, they die. And the fifth is Steel Chain, which allows him to steal the Nen abilities of others. And now, with his fully decked out Nen ability, he can start looking for jobs and clues to help him get the eyes back. So his first job was as a bodyguard, and he had traveled to York New City to protect his boss as he attended an underground auction. Now clearly an underground auction is some very shady stuff. They might be selling some things that may be deemed illegal, like the scarlet eyes, so it's very likely the Phantom Troop will be in attendance. So Kurapika and the other bodyguards pull up to the auction, and everyone is there, you know, they're ready to have a good time. And then bam! The auction gets shot up by the Phantom Troop and everyone dies. Fortunately, Kurapika and Melody, who is another bodyguard, were outside at the time, and Kurapika uses this commotion as a chance to put his plans into place. At the same time, the Phantom Troop were fleeing the scene in a hot air balloon, but they didn't get away with any of the items that they came for, since the items in the vault had already been emptied. Uvogin and Crollo suspect that it was probably the Ten Dons Mafia who got to the vault before them. So Crollo tells Uvogin to make some noise in the desert and draw out the Shadow Beasts, who are guards of the Ten Dons. But then, the Mafia shoots down the hot air balloon and surrounds the troop members. The bodyguards arrive at the scene shortly afterwards, and they're all like, "Get down now and we'll let you decide whether we bury you or drown you." But that threat was empty because they got packed up so fast by Uvogin. Look what he did to this one guy, look at his neck. And with all that commotion going on, the Shadow Beasts finally arrive. And I have to say this now, the Shadow Beasts were the most overhyped group of bums in this whole anime. They were literally supposed to be the strongest assassins this arc, but all they did was show how strong the Phantom Troop really was, or specifically Uvogin, because he packs these fools up so fast. This guy gets his face bit in half. Then Uvogin uses his chewed up skull to create some bullet, and he shoots it with his mouth at this guy, who gets blasted in the middle of his head. And lastly, this porcupine fool gets screamed at to death. He defeated them all with just his head. That is crazy. And the whole time, Kurapika and a few others had been following the Phantom Troop and watching all this go down. But then Kurapika catches eye of something through his binoculars. He sees the spider tattoo on Uvogin's back. So now he knows for sure that they're dealing with the Phantom Troop, and they put a quick plan together in place to capture Uvogin. So Kurapika uses chain jail on Uvogin from a distance and takes him captive and puts him in the back of a car. The Phantom Troop tries to follow them, but the Owl, who is one of the Shadow Beasts responsible for stealing everything at the auction, stops them, and the other Shadow Beasts pull up so that they can scrap the Phantom Troop. troop. But just like last time, the shadow beasts are packed up with maximum efficiency, and this time they didn't even bother animating the fight. That's how whack these shadow beast fools really are. But back to Uvogin. They've got him captured, and Kurapika's group questions him about the stolen auction merchandise. But obviously he doesn't know where it is, since the shadow beasts had got to it first. So instead they just plan to give him as a captive to the mafia, and Dalzone calls up the mafia to arrange a meetup, but Shaunuk was listening in, so the Phantom Troop now know where Uvogin is being kept. So they pull up to the location and free him. And when Uvogin gets free, he is pissed and wants to fight Kurapika for capturing him now. So he and Shaunuk do some research to locate where he could be at, and they are able to pinpoint 3 locations where Kurapika could be. Kurapika also realizes this information at the same time and has everyone leave him behind. Then Uvogin pulls up and the face-off commences. Uvogin versus Kurapika, here we go. They decide to go and fight out in some desert, and Uvogin lands the first blow, but that punch did no damage, and Uvogin is confused because only an enhancer should be able to block his punches. And Kurapika starts smack talking because of that weak ass punch, which gets Uvogin mad, and he starts using 50% of his strength, but even that isn't enough, and Kurapika is avoiding all his attacks. So Uvogin goes full throttle and smashes the ground to create a smoke screen so that he can use Ian to conceal his aura, allowing him to catch Kurapika off guard and destroy his arm. But at the same time, Kurapika had also used Ian to hide his change ale, and once again he has captured Uvogin. So Kurapika starts beating him and tries to get information out of him regarding the other Phantom Troop members, but Uvogin is a loyal man, he will not budge. So Kurapika uses the judgment chain on him to force an answer out of him, and if he doesn't answer the question truthfully, he will die. And so Kurapika asks him one last time where he can find the Phantom Troop, but Uvogin doesn't answer his question and he dies right there and then. RIP Uvogin. But you got embarrassed, bro. Kurapika even brought a shovel to the fight. That's how confident he was that he was gonna bury Uvogin that night. But that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know if you guys want a part 2 or if I should cover a different revenge story. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.